I'm going to tell you something that might sound absolutely crazy. I'm going to tell you that your entire life, everything you've been struggling with, every dream you've pushed aside, every goal that feels impossible, all of it can begin to transform in just 3 days. 3 days, 72 hours. And I can already see some of you shaking your heads thinking, here we go, another motivational speaker making promises they can't keep. But hold on. I'm not saying your life will be perfect in 3 days. I'm not saying all your problems will vanish. What I'm saying is that in 3 days, you can fundamentally change the relationship you have with yourself. And that, my friends, changes everything. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. When was the last time you listened to the voice in your head? I mean, really listened. Not just heard it, but paid attention to what it's been telling you day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to talk about. Most of us are walking around with an abusive roommate living rent-free in our minds. This roommate criticizes everything we do, tells us we're not good enough, reminds us of every failure, magnifies every flaw, and convinces us that our dreams are ridiculous. And we just accept it. We wouldn't let anyone else talk to us the way we talk to ourselves. Yet we give ourselves that abuse every single day. I want to share something with you. There's this woman, you might know her name, Priyanka Chopra. Now, whether you're a fan or not doesn't matter. What matters is her story, because it's a story about the power of self-talk that changed everything. Here's a woman who was told she wasn't pretty enough for Bollywood. Can you imagine? She was told her legs were too long, her body wasn't right, her accent was too Western after coming back from America. She was literally told to get surgery, to change herself, to fit into someone else's idea of what she should be. And she could have listened to those voices. She could have let those external critics become her internal voice. But instead, she made a decision. She decided that the only voice that mattered was her own, and she was going to make damn sure that voice was saying the right things. You see, Priyanka didn't just become Miss World by accident. She didn't conquer Bollywood and then Hollywood by luck. She did it by training her mind to be her greatest ally instead of her worst enemy. She talks about looking in the mirror every single day and telling herself, you are enough, you are powerful. You are capable of anything you set your mind to. Even when the entire industry was telling her she was wrong, her self-talk was telling her she was right. And guess what? She was right. But here's what I really want you to understand. This isn't just about celebrities or people with massive platforms. This is about you. This is about the single mother working 3 jobs who tells herself every morning, I can do this. My children will have a better life. This is about the student who failed his exams twice, but wakes up every day saying, I'm not a failure. I'm learning. I'm growing. This is about the entrepreneur who lost everything but whispers to herself in the dark, this is not the end. This is preparation for my comeback. The science backs this up, by the way. Researchers have found that we have somewhere between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. 12 to 60,000. And here's the kicker. 80% of those thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive. Think about that for a second. Your brain is literally running the same negative program over and over again, like a broken record stuck on the worst song ever made. No wonder we feel stuck. No wonder we feel like we can't change. We're not stuck because of our circumstances. We're stuck because we keep thinking the same thoughts, which lead to the same feelings, which lead to the same actions, which create the same results. So when I say you can change your life in 3 days, here's what I mean. In 3 days, you can become aware of your self-talk. You can interrupt the pattern. You can consciously choose different words. And when you change your words, you change your thoughts. When you change your thoughts, you change your feelings. When you change your feelings, you change your actions. And when you change your actions, you change your life. It's that simple. Notice I didn't say easy. I said simple. Let me tell you about a young man I met. His name was Marcus, and when I first spoke to him, he was 28 years old and living in his parents' basement. He had a college degree but was working part-time in a coffee shop. He had dreams of starting his own business, but every time he tried to move forward, something would stop him. We sat down and I asked him to tell me what he thought about himself. You know what came out? I'm lazy. I'm a disappointment. I'm wasting my potential. I'm never going to make it. I'm just not built for success. I don't have what it takes. I looked at him and said, Marcus, if your best friend was sitting here instead of you and he was struggling, would you talk to him like that? His eyes filled with tears. No, he said. I would never talk to my worst enemy like that. And that's when it hit him. He had been his own worst enemy for years. The reason he couldn't move forward wasn't lack of opportunity or resources or talent. It was the voice in his head that kept telling him he couldn't do it. So we started an experiment. 3 days, that's all I asked. For 3 days, every time Marcus caught himself saying something negative, he had to stop, acknowledge it, and replace it with something true and empowering. Not fake affirmations that he didn't believe, but real, honest, powerful truth. Instead of I'm lazy, it became I'm learning to channel my energy more effectively. Instead of I'm a disappointment, it became I'm on my own timeline and that's okay. Instead of I'm never going to make it, it became I'm building something worth building and it takes time. You want to know what happened? On day 1, he said it was the hardest thing he'd ever done. He realized he was being negative every few minutes. It was exhausting to catch himself. Day 2, something shifted. He started noticing the negativity before it fully formed. He began to anticipate it. Day 3, he told me he woke up and the first thought he had wasn't negative. For the first time in years, his first thought was, I wonder what good things today will bring. That was 4 years ago. Marcus now runs a successful digital marketing agency with 12 employees. He's not in his parents' basement anymore. He's not working part-time at a coffee shop. He's living his dream. And it all started with 3 days of conscious, intentional self-talk. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds like toxic positivity. Life is hard. Bad things happen. I can't just positive think my way out of real problems. And you're absolutely right. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. This is not about ignoring your struggles or bypassing your emotions. This is about changing the story you tell yourself about your struggles. There's a massive difference between I'm going through a difficult time and I have the strength to handle it, and everything is terrible and I can't handle anything. See the difference. Both acknowledge the difficulty, but one empowers you and one destroys you. Priyanka Chopra talks about this in her memoir. She writes about the time she was in America trying to break into Hollywood, and she couldn't get cast in anything except stereotypical roles. She was being offered parts as the terrorist's wife, the taxi driver, the IT worker with a thick accent. Every role was a caricature, and she could have told herself, this is all I'm worth. This is all they see me as. I should just be grateful for anything. But instead, she told herself, I'm worth more than this. I'm capable of more than this. I will wait for the right opportunity, and in the meantime, I will create my own. And that's exactly what she did. She produced her own content. She built her own brand. She made herself impossible to ignore. And then came Quantico, and then came everything else. The self-talk didn't change her circumstances overnight. But it changed how she showed up in her circumstances. It changed her energy, her confidence, her decision-making. And that's what changed everything. I want you to try something with me right now. Close your eyes for a moment. I want you to think about a goal you have, something you really want but haven't achieved yet. Got it? Good. Now I want you to pay attention to what your mind just said about that goal. Did it say, yes, I want that so badly? Or did it immediately jump to, that's never going to happen for me? Did it remind you of all the reasons you can't have it? Did it bring up past failures? Be honest with yourself. What did your mind say? Open your eyes. That right there, that automatic response, that's your current self-talk programming. And here's the beautiful, powerful, life-changing truth. You can reprogram it. You're not stuck with the mental software you're currently running. You can update it. You can delete the old files. You can install new ones. But first, you have to become aware of what's running in the background. I worked with a woman named Sarah who was trying to lose weight for 10 years. 10 years. She had tried every diet, every exercise program, every supplement. Nothing worked long term. She would lose 20 pounds and gain back 30, lose 15 and gain back 25. It was a cycle of frustration and self-hatred. When we talked, I didn't ask her about her diet or exercise routine. I asked her what she said to herself when she looked in the mirror. She broke down crying. I tell myself I'm disgusting. I tell myself I have no willpower. I tell myself I'll never change. I said, Sarah, you're trying to improve a body you hate. But here's the truth. You can't hate yourself into a version of yourself you love. It doesn't work that way. We worked on her self-talk first. Before we touched anything about diet or exercise, every morning, before she did anything else, she would look in the mirror and say 3 things. I'm taking care of my body because I love it, not because I hate it. I'm strong and capable. I'm making progress every single day. At first, she didn't believe the words. She felt silly saying them. But she committed to 3 days, then 3 more, then 3 more. After a month, something incredible happened. She stopped binge eating, not because of willpower or discipline, but because when she'd reach for food emotionally, a different voice would speak up. You're strong and capable. What do you really need right now? Is it food or is it something else? She started making different choices, not from a place of punishment, but from a place of self-respect. She lost 60 pounds over the next year and has kept it off for 3 years now. But more importantly, she found peace with herself. Here's what I need you to understand. Your self-talk is either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. There is no neutral. Every word you say to yourself is either building you up or tearing you down. Every single word. When you wake up and think, oh, another Monday, you're programming yourself for a terrible day. When you wake up and think a new week, a new opportunity, you're programming yourself for possibility. Same Monday, different experience, all because of the words in your head. Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest boxers of all time, understood this deeply. He would tell everyone, I am the greatest. He said it so much that people thought he was arrogant. But you know what he was really doing? He was programming his mind. He was creating a belief system that would support him when he stepped into the ring against opponents who were bigger, stronger, faster. He said, it's the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Muhammad Ali didn't wait to feel like the greatest. He told himself he was the greatest until he believed it, and then he became it. That's the power of self-talk. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait until the circumstances are perfect. It starts creating your reality right now, in this moment, with the very next thought you think. Now, let's get practical because I don't want you leaving here inspired, but confused about what to actually do. Here's your 3-day challenge, and I'm serious about this. This is not optional if you want to change your life. This is the work. Day 1 is awareness. For the entire day, I want you to carry a small notebook or use your phone. Every time you catch yourself thinking or saying something negative about yourself, write it down. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it yet. Just notice it and write it down. I'm so stupid. Write it down. I can't do anything right. Write it down. I'll never be successful. Write it down. You're going to be shocked at how many times you attack yourself in a single day. The average person has up to 45 negative thoughts about themselves before lunch. 45? Before lunch! This day is just about awareness because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Day 2 is interruption. Now that you know your patterns, you're going to actively interrupt them. Every time a negative thought comes up, I want you to say out loud, stop. Say it out loud if you can. If you're in public and that's awkward, say it in your head, but say it with force. Stop. Then take a breath. This is crucial. The breath creates a pause between the old pattern and the new one. In that pause, you have power. In that pause, you have choice. Don't replace the thought yet. Just stop it and breathe. You're training your mind that you're not going to accept the abuse anymore. Day 3 is replacement. This is where the magic happens. Every time you catch and stop a negative thought, you're going to replace it with something true, powerful, and empowering. Not a lie. Not fake positivity. But truth. If the thought is, I'm terrible at my job, The replacement isn't, I'm the best employee ever. If you don't believe that, the replacement is, I'm learning and growing every day, and I'm committed to getting better. If the thought is, I'll never find love, the replacement isn't, everyone loves me. When you're feeling lonely, the replacement is, I'm worthy of love, and I'm becoming the kind of person who attracts healthy relationships. See the difference? It's honest, it's empowering, and your mind can actually accept it. 3 days, that's all I'm asking. 72 hours of conscious, intentional self-talk. And I promise you, if you do this with full commitment, you will not be the same person on day 4. You won't be fully transformed. That takes longer. But you will have experienced something profound. You will have experienced what it feels like to be on your own side. You will have tasted what it's like to have your mind working for you instead of against you. And once you taste that, you can't go back. You won't want to go back. Priyanka Chopra said in an interview, I think the most important relationship you'll ever have is the relationship with yourself. And if that relationship is broken, everything else becomes so much harder. She's right. Think about it. You can have all the money in the world, but if you think you're not worthy of it, you'll sabotage yourself. You can have people who love you, but if you don't love yourself, you won't be able to receive their love. You can have opportunities falling from the sky, but if you think you're not capable, you'll let them all pass by. Everything starts with the conversation you have with yourself. Everything. I remember reading about Jim Carrey, the actor and comedian. Before he was famous, when he was broke and struggling, he wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered and dated it for Thanksgiving 1995. He kept that check in his wallet and looked at it every day. He would visualize directors valuing his work. He would imagine himself being successful. He would talk to himself like he was already the actor he wanted to be. In 1994, just before Thanksgiving 1995, he found out he was going to make $10 million for the movie Dumb and Dumber. The check he wrote himself years earlier had come true. Was it magic? No. It was self-talk combined with action. He programmed his mind to expect success, and then he worked his tail off to achieve it. But here's what most people miss about that story. Jim Carrey didn't just write the check and sit on his couch waiting. He used that check and the self-talk it represented to fuel his action. He auditioned relentlessly. He improved his craft constantly. He took risks. The self-talk gave him the confidence and belief to do the work that actually created the result. That's the key. Self-talk without action is just daydreaming. But action without empowering self-talk is exhausting and often unsustainable. You need both. You need the inner voice that says, you can do this, and you need the outer action that proves it true. They work together. They feed each other. When you take action aligned with empowering self-talk, you create evidence for your mind that the new story is true. And when your mind believes the new story is true, it becomes easier to take even more action. It's a beautiful, powerful upward spiral instead of the downward spiral most people are stuck in. Let me tell you about a time when I had to use this myself. There was a period in my life when everything was falling apart. I had lost my job, my relationship ended, and my financial situation was dire. I was living on a friend's couch, and every day felt like drowning. The voice in my head was relentless. You're a failure. You'll never recover from this. Everyone was right about you. You're not capable of success. That voice was so loud, so constant, so convincing that I started believing it was the truth. One night, I was at my lowest point, and I had a moment of clarity. I thought, what if the voice is lying? What if everything it's telling me is completely wrong? So I decided to do an experiment. For 1 week, I would consciously speak to myself the way I would speak to my best friend if they were going through what I was going through. Nothing fake, nothing I didn't believe, just compassionate, honest, supportive self-talk. Instead of, you're a failure, I said, you're going through a difficult time, and you've overcome difficult times before. Instead of, you'll never recover, I said, this is temporary, and you're figuring out your next steps. Instead of, everyone was right about you, I said, other people's opinions don't define your worth or your potential. That first day was exhausting. The negative voice fought back hard, but I kept going. Day 2 was slightly easier. Day 3, I noticed I smiled for the first time in weeks. By day 7, I had applied for 10 jobs, reached out to 3 people in my network, and started a side project that eventually became a business. The circumstances hadn't changed dramatically in 7 days. I was still on my friend's couch. I still didn't have a job. But I had changed. My energy changed, my hope changed, my willingness to try changed, and that changed everything. Within 2 months, I had a new job. Within 6 months, my side project was making money. Within a year, I was in a better place than I had been before everything fell apart. And it started with 3 days, then 7, then a commitment to never go back to the old way of speaking to myself. You have that same power right now. In this moment, you don't need permission. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need more time or more resources. You need a decision. A decision to stop tolerating abuse from the voice in your head. A decision to speak to yourself with the respect and compassion you deserve. A decision to use your words to build yourself up instead of tear yourself down. Oprah Winfrey once said, "You become what you believe." Not what you wish or hope or want, but what you truly believe. And what you tell yourself every day becomes your belief system. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, you'll believe it. If you tell yourself you can't change, you'll believe it. If you tell yourself you're destined for failure, you'll believe it. But if you tell yourself you're capable, you'll believe it. If you tell yourself you're worthy, you'll believe it. If you tell yourself you're resilient and powerful and designed for greatness, you'll believe it. And once you believe it, you'll start living it. There's this concept in psychology called neuroplasticity. It's the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. What this means in simple terms is that your brain is not fixed. Your patterns are not permanent. Your thoughts are not unchangeable. Every time you think a new thought, you're literally creating new pathways in your brain. The more you think that thought, the stronger the pathway becomes. The old negative pathways don't disappear immediately, but they weaken over time when you stop using them and strengthen the new positive pathways instead. This is scientific fact, not motivational fluff. You can rewire your brain. You can change your default patterns. You can become a different person by thinking different thoughts. But it requires consistency. It requires intention. It requires those 3 days of intensive focus to break the old pattern and begin establishing the new one. I want to address something important here. Some of you are dealing with real mental health challenges, depression, anxiety, trauma, and I want to be very clear. Positive self-talk is not a replacement for professional help. If you're struggling with your mental health, please seek support from a qualified therapist or counselor. But even in therapy, even with medication, even with professional support, the way you speak to yourself matters. In fact, many therapists teach cognitive behavioral therapy, which is essentially learning to identify and change negative thought patterns. It's learning to change your self-talk. So whether you're in therapy or not, this work is valuable and necessary. The beautiful thing is that changing your self-talk doesn't require anyone else. You don't need a degree. You don't need money. You don't need anyone's approval. You just need awareness, intention, and practice. That's it. This is the most democratic tool for transformation that exists. Every single person has access to it regardless of their circumstances. Priyanka Chopra talks about her meditation practice and how it helps her maintain positive self-talk. She says meditation isn't about emptying your mind, it's about becoming aware of your thoughts without judgment. When you meditate, you start to notice that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. And once you realize that, you understand that you have power over which thoughts you engage with and which ones you let pass by. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. You can choose. Think about that for a second. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. Just because your brain produces a thought doesn't mean it's true or helpful or worth your attention. Your brain is constantly generating thoughts based on past experiences, fears, conditioning, and a whole host of other factors. Most of those thoughts are not serving you. Most of them are keeping you stuck. But you can choose which thoughts to feed and which to starve. There's an old Cherokee story about two wolves. A grandfather is talking to his grandson about life. He says, "There's a fight going on inside me. It's a terrible fight between two wolves. One wolf represents fear, anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other wolf stands for joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. This same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too." The grandson thinks for a moment and asks, "Which wolf will win?" The grandfather replies, "The one you feed. Your self-talk is how you feed the wolves. Every negative word feeds the destructive wolf. Every empowering word feeds the constructive wolf. And whichever one you feed more will dominate your life. It's that simple and that profound. So let me ask you directly, which wolf have you been feeding? Be honest. Look at your life right now. Look at your results, your relationships, your emotional state, your progress toward your goals. Which wolf has been getting more food? If you're not where you want to be, I can almost guarantee the wrong wolf has been feasting while the right one has been starving. But here's the incredible news. You can change that starting today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when circumstances are better. Today. Right now. The very next thought you think can feed the right wolf. The very next thing you say to yourself can strengthen the positive neural pathway. You have that power in this exact moment. I challenge you to make a commitment right here, right now. Not to me, but to yourself. Commit to 3 days of intentional, conscious, empowering self-talk. 3 days of catching the negative voice and replacing it with truth. 3 days of being on your own side. 3 days of treating yourself with the kindness and respect you show to others. Just 3 days. And here's what I know will happen. You'll mess up. You'll forget. You'll catch yourself hours later and realize you've been running the old program. That's okay. That's part of the process. Don't use that as evidence that you're failing or that this doesn't work. Use it as information. Okay, I went 3 hours on autopilot. Now I'm aware again. Now I can choose again. Every moment is a new opportunity to choose differently. There was a woman I worked with named Jennifer who was trying to start her own business while working a full-time job and raising 2 kids alone. She was exhausted, overwhelmed, and drowning in self-doubt. Her self-talk was brutal. "I'm not smart enough to run a business. Who am I kidding? I can barely handle what I have now. I should just give up on this dream." We worked on changing that narrative. Instead, she started saying, "I'm resourceful and capable. I'm building something important while managing my responsibilities. This is hard, but I'm strong enough to do hard things." She committed to 3 days of intensive self-talk work. On day 1, she said she cried because she realized how mean she had been to herself for years. On day 2, she had a breakthrough. She was in the middle of a stressful situation at work, and instead of her usual spiral into, "I can't handle this," she heard a different voice. "I'm resourceful and capable. I can figure this out." And she did. Day 3, she made progress on her business plan for the first time in months because the voice in her head had shifted from, "This is impossible," to, "This is challenging, and I'm up for the challenge." That was 3 years ago. Jennifer now runs a 6-figure business from home, has more time with her kids, and recently told me, "Changing my self-talk didn't just change my business. It changed my parenting, my relationships, my health, everything. I became a different person because I finally stopped being my own enemy and became my own champion." That's what's available to you. Not just success in one area, but transformation across your entire life. Because when you change the foundation, which is how you talk to yourself, everything built on that foundation changes too. Let me give you some specific phrases you can use, because I know sometimes we don't know what to say instead of the negative stuff. When you catch yourself saying, "I can't," replace it with, "I'm learning how to." When you say, "I'm not good enough," replace it with, "I'm enough right now, and I'm growing." When you say, "I always fail," replace it with, "I've had setbacks and I've also had successes. I'm resilient." When you say, "Nothing ever works out for me," replace it with, "Some things haven't worked out and some things have. I trust that I'm being guided to what's right for me. Notice these aren't fake. They're not pretending everything is perfect. They're honest, but they're empowering. They acknowledge reality without giving up your power. That's the key. You want self-talk that's both truthful and uplifting, both grounded and hopeful, both realistic and optimistic. Priyanka Chopra said something in an interview that really stuck with me. She said, "I've always believed that if you want something enough and you're willing to work for it, you can achieve it. But first, you have to believe you're worthy of achieving it." That's it right there. You have to believe you're worthy. And belief starts with the words you say to yourself when no one else is listening. So many people are working incredibly hard toward their goals, but sabotaging themselves with their self-talk. They're putting in the hours, doing the work, making sacrifices, but the whole time they're thinking, this probably won't work. I'm probably not good enough. This probably won't happen for me. And then they wonder why they're exhausted and discouraged. You can't run a marathon while telling yourself you're not a runner. You can't build a business while telling yourself you're not an entrepreneur. You can't create a great relationship while telling yourself you're unlovable. Your self-talk has to match your goals, or you'll constantly be working against yourself. It's like trying to drive forward while pressing the gas and the brake at the same time. You might move a little, but it's inefficient, exhausting, and damaging to the car. Take your foot off the brake. Stop talking yourself out of your own success. Stop undermining your own efforts. Get your mind and your actions aligned and watch what becomes possible. I'm going to share one more story, and then I want to leave you with a challenge that I hope you'll accept. There was a man named David who came to one of my workshops. He was 62 years old and had spent 40 years in a job he hated. He told me he had given up on his dreams decades ago and just accepted that this was his life. But he came to the workshop because his wife dragged him, and something I said struck him. I talked about how it's never too late to change your self-talk, and therefore it's never too late to change your life. After the workshop, David pulled me aside with tears in his eyes. He said, "I've spent 40 years telling myself it's too late. I'm too old. I missed my chance. What if that's been a lie? What if I've wasted all this time believing something that wasn't true?" I looked at him and said, "David, the past is gone. You can't change it. But you have right now. You can either spend the next 40 years continuing that lie, or you can start a new story today. You're 62. You could easily live another 20 to 30 years. Do you want those years to be more of the same? Or do you want to finally see what happens when you become your own biggest supporter? 3 days. That's all he committed to. 3 days of replacing. It's too late with, "I'm starting now, and that's what matters." 3 days of replacing, "I'm too old," with, "I have experience and wisdom that younger people don't have." 3 days of replacing, "I missed my chance," with, "My chance is right now." You know what happened. David retired early, took his retirement savings, and started the woodworking business he had dreamed about since he was a young man. At 62, he became an entrepreneur. At 62, he started living instead of just existing. He sent me a message a year later with a picture of a beautiful custom dining table he had made. The message said, "I'm finally alive. Thank you for helping me change the conversation in my head. It's never too late. You're not too old. You're not too broken. You're not too far behind. You're not too anything except too willing to believe the lies your negative self-talk has been selling you. Stop buying those lies. Start investing in truth instead." Here's my challenge to you as we close. When you leave here today, I want you to make a 3-day commitment. Get a notebook or use your phone. Mark day 1, day 2, and day 3. Follow the process I outlined. Awareness on day 1, interruption on day 2, replacement on day 3. Do it with full commitment. Don't half do it. Don't say you'll try. Trying is planning to fail. Decide you're doing it and do it. And then after those 3 days, check in with yourself. Notice what's different. Notice how you feel. Notice what's become possible that wasn't possible before. And then make another 3-day commitment, and another, until the new self-talk becomes automatic. Until treating yourself with respect becomes your default. until being your own champion feels more natural than being your own critic. Your life is too valuable to waste in a war with yourself. Your potential is too great to be diminished by negative self-talk. Your dreams are too important to be talked out of by the voice in your head. You deserve better. You deserve to have your mind working for you, cheering you on, believing in you, supporting you. And the only person who can give you that is you. 3 days. 72 hours, that's all I'm asking. Change your self-talk, change your life. It starts now. It starts with the very next thing you say to yourself. Make it good. Make it true. Make it powerful. You've got this. I believe in you. Now it's time for you to believe in you too. Walks off stage to thunderous applause.